And so we grew together, like to a double cherry, seeming parted, but yet a union in partition, two lovely berries molded on one stem. William Shakespeare.
In 1860, the storm clouds of war hovered over the United States. Before long, the first shots would be heard, and the battle to preserve the greatest experiment in democracy the world had ever known would commence. Across the ocean, in the shtetls of Eastern Europe, another form of disunion was brewing. Anti-Jewish rioting intensified, and Germans and Russians, Ukrainians and Poles all began to dream of life in the promised land known as America. And so, against that backdrop, in that very same year, Nachum Goldberg was born, a poor Jewish boy in Poland. And in another shtetl, somewhere in Poland or Russia, Israel Yaker would be born. In the northern Ukraine, Wilhelm Boletin's family was welcoming another son, and in Germany, Rosa Blumenthal would be born. And so it went throughout the region. Rothmans, Mayers, Zerwitzes, Boletins, the Rubensteins, the Messings, the Berenses, the Lefkowitzes, the Yakers, Feldmans, and the Tobacks, all marrying, bearing children, raising families. Families that would make their way to New York City, to Baltimore, to Cleveland, to Sharon, Pennsylvania. Some will change their names. Lefkowitz becomes Leffie. Goldberg becomes Davidson. But some things, like their devotion to family, never wavered. These are the ancestors of Jesse Toback and Noah Rothman. Noah's great-grandfather, Davy Davidson, the eldest of 8, was in the ambulance corps in World War I before he returned to Baltimore to marry Redzi Zerwitz, from whom Noah would inherit his red hair. Their daughter, the beautiful Betty Davidson, would marry another soldier from another war, Lieutenant J.G. Donald Rothman, and in the first wave of the baby boom, Noah's dad would be born. In Cleveland, Noah's great-grandfather, Abe Messing, married Frida Barons. Their daughter Dorothy would marry the eldest son of Simon and Ida Boletin, Dr. Joe Boletin, who settled in Sharon, PA, which is where Dorothy and Joe's third child, Susie, would be born. Jesse's grandmother, Rosalind Feldman, and George Toback would meet and marry. It is while living in Brooklyn and Michael, one of their 2 sons, is born. And elsewhere in New York, the beautiful Shirley Yaker would marry Jay Leffie. They would have 4 children. The second is named Merrill. Merrill marries Mike. Susie marries Johnny. Time marches on, and soon it is 1988. Susie and Merrill are both feeling, well, expectant. And it is now that the story of the union of Jesse and Noah can really begin.
New York, New York, it's a hell of a town. The Bronx is up and the Battery's down. New York, New York, it's a hell of a town.
February 6, 1988, dawned clear and crisp on the Upper East Side for the birth of Jesse Allen Toback, by all accounts, a beautiful baby.
Feliz, porque yo mirar a Jesse, nunca había visto una bebé tan bonita, tan pequeñita. La vi bellísima, bellísima. Pues, no pelo, grandes ojos, pequeña boca. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful.
August 15th of that same fateful year was marked by sweltering heat, and in Upper Fifth Avenue, Noah Boletin Rothman is born. Though these 2 beautiful babies are born blocks from each other on the Upper East Side, family and fate rip them asunder. Noah's parents take him downtown, to a childhood in Greenwich Village, to a bohemian life of experimentation, lax, liberal parenting, writing, dressing up, reading, and generally figuring out who he is while he explores the hip-hop side of life.
Holla, holla, anybody that's ready to get dollars, dollars. Ladies know who to get it with this holla, holla. Come on, if you rollin' with me, follow, it's murder.
But always, there was baseball, and more baseball, and the accumulation of the most valuable player trophies. But even growing up in the left-wing precincts of downtown Manhattan, Noah had certain Republican leanings.
Noah and I were driving to Cape Cod together, just the 2 of us, and nice summer day. It was during the 2004 presidential campaign, and we were talking politics. Noah was deep into his Republican phase then, but he was not happy with George W. Bush. On the other hand, he couldn't abide John Kerry. And we talked back and forth, Kerry, Bush, Bush, Kerry. Finally, I said to him, I think we were somewhere south of Providence, I said, Noah, if you were 18 now and you were voting, he was 16 at the time, if you were 18 and voting, whom would you vote for? And he paused and he said, do you promise not to tell my parents? And I said, sure, I won't tell your parents. Whom would you vote for? And he said, John Kerry. And I knew he'd be okay.
Ah, those car rides to Cape Cod, to that beloved cottage on the dune, where each August he celebrates his birthday with his large and growing family. He horses around on the beach, surfs, fishes, and generally continues to live a very good life. A few weeks after Noah's 13th birthday, the trade centers fall. A month later, Noah's bar mitzvah. That memorable party, a true celebration of life, was in Brooklyn, at Outer Borough, where Noah also went to school at Poly Prep. But, as if fated, Noah was drawn to the Upper East Side. While on the Upper East Side, Jessie was growing up in her own way. Surrounded by family, she summers in the Hamptons. The parties. The pools. And a whole lot of horses. And horses. And more horses. Her family, like Noah's, celebrates her in an unforgettable bar mitzvah. As far as we know, Noah and Jessie's paths didn't cross, though they had much in common. They had sisters who took care of them, Lily and Gara. Both were deeply attached to the women who helped raise them. Rose Barber, who loved Noah like her own son and taught him a thing or two about gambling along the way, and Linda Hernandez, who to this day treasures Jessie like a daughter. They both loved animals. And they both loved shopping. They both showed a talent for friendship and a love of parties.
And another thing about Noah, since I've known him, never came home drunk, never came home messed up. Just an amazing kid, amazing family.
It is hard to believe that Noah and Jessie never met, but all that was about to change. Noah needed glasses.
Noah was buying glasses to go away to college. So I just said to him, where are you going? And he goes, Franklin and Marshall. I said, Franklin and Marshall, really? My daughter's going there. Do you know my daughter, Jessie Toback? No, don't know him, and he's got like a whole cool act going on. So I said, you want to see a picture of my daughter? And he probably looked at me and said, nah, I really don't want to see a picture of your daughter. But I said, here's a picture of my daughter. And he looked at the picture, and he still was his cool self. They leave. I call my daughter up, Jessie. There's this boy, Noah Rothman. He's gonna come looking for you.
It's not about becoming what you dream of being. It's about self-revelation, becoming who you are. Baz Luhrmann.
It begins, as Mike predicted, at Franklin and Marshall, a prestigious liberal arts college in Lancaster, Pennsylvania, named for Franklin and Marshall. Noah did indeed look Jessie up. They met. They fell in love. They happily showed their true characters to each other, and sometimes to the police in Lancaster County.
April 5th, 2009. An officer dispatched to 605 College Avenue observed E. Rosenberg inside. Advised to clear the building, Rosenberg became irate and was taken into custody. Noah Rothman was told to back away. He then stated, "If Rosenberg goes, then I go."
Ah, youth. But time continues its march, and eventually Noah and Jessie graduate. Things should have been simple. But, once again, they were ripped asunder as Noah left for L.A. to begin his career in the mailroom of 3 Arts. Meanwhile, back in New York, Jessie was getting her master's from NYU and starting work as a tutor and teacher at Birch Waltham Lennox. She was everyone's favorite second-grade teacher.
And she's the best teacher in 2nd grade. And she's a great tutor.
But love could no longer be ignored. Noah had to get back to New York. Somehow, some way, he convinced Trevor Engelson to let him open the Gotham outpost of underground films.
First time I met Noah was at Roxanne and Phil's house in Hancock Park. In 2011, it was the first reading of my play, Small Engine Repair. And we had the reading, and he came up to me and he was like, dude, that was a really good play. And I was like, who the fuck is this guy? And then we kind of stayed out in touch, and then he eventually was a manager, and he called me up. He's like, dude, I want to manage you. And I was saying, who the fuck is this guy? And I took a chance, and it was one of the best decisions I made professionally, and we have become really, really good friends and worked together through some crazy shit. Now we're making a movie together, and it's been, shit, like 7 years, and I'm still trying to figure out who the fuck is this guy.
Yes, that is the question. Who the f*** is this guy? The one who answered that best was, and always will be, Jesse.
When you realize you want to spend the rest of your life with somebody, you want the rest of your life to start as soon as possible. Nora Ephron, When Harry Met Sally.
And so, the union is made whole. Jesse Allen Toback, Noah Bulletin Rothman, creating a new family, becoming a part of the fabric of family from which they came, and the mashpucha, of which they will always be a part.
And her new name is going to be Mrs. Rothman. Her wedding date is April 6, 2019.